and also your ideas. I hope we will be able to share some of the experiences that you have and we all have in this field. My name is Joanna Skibba. I am the head of the international office at the Academy of Social Sciences. Also, I am researching adult education areas and also international relations for the past 20 years. And on everyday basis, I work as the head of the international office at the municipality in my city of Włocławek, where I manage all international contacts and also establishing new relations, and it is pretty much related to my academic life. So I combine both worlds. One is at the municipal level and the other is at the academic level, as I have been the academic teacher for the last 20 years. I guess we all have this experience, and we have come across the conflicts, and also they are not only the inevitable or unavoidable part of academic life, as we come across conflicts in all kinds of levels on our personal life, professional life. I'm going to first discuss it at more academic level to describe the evidence-based approach, to give you some examples of dynamics stated by renowned scholars. And then in the second part, I'm going to concentrate on solutions, and I hope we will all be able to share our own solutions that we have and experience in conflict management, as this is a very broad topic. As we all know, the classrooms are the dynamic social systems. They are the systems where the teaching and learning occur together, and it is based on continuous interactions. And these interactions take place among individuals who have very different and diverse identities. They have diverse experiences, abilities, and expectations. And consequently, the conflict is this aspect of educational setting which has this exceptional occurrence. So it occurs frequently, and it is not inherently destructive, as educational value depends on one thing. It depends on how this conflict is managed. So if this conflict is managed in a constructive manner, then it can foster critical thinking or empathy, or sometimes democratic participation or social competence. And if we manage the conflict poorly, then it can undermine and weaken the learning. It can increase stress and weaken the teacher and student relationships. So classroom management has undergone a substantial shift over the past decades. The traditional approaches emphasized the teacher authority, the teacher as the powerful source of knowledge, and all kinds of behavioral control. And contemporary perspectives change. They have this concept of classroom management as the creation of the learning environment which can promote academic engagement, emotional safety, social responsibility, and student autonomy. Discussing the theoretical foundations of the classroom conflict and its management, we need to understand several settings, and we should understand the concept through several theoretical perspectives. The first one is the social constructivism, and the scholar associated with this trend is Vygotsky, who in 1978 stated that learning is fundamentally social and that knowledge is developed through interaction with more knowledgeable people within our zone. And since learning requires collaboration, disagreement and negotiations are the natural parts of those activities. So from this perspective, conflict is not an interruption of learning, but it is an integral part and component of cognitive development when appropriately scaffolded by the teacher, so appropriately created by the teacher. We also have the notion of exploratory talk, which is characterized by reasoned disagreement and collaborative dialogue, which promotes thinking. So productive disagreement can become the instructional resource rather than the classroom disruption. Another second theory that we can briefly discuss is the social learning theory, created by Bandura in 1977, known as the social learning theory, and explains that students acquire behavioral patterns through observation, imitation, and reinforcement. So teachers therefore influence fully the classroom and the classroom behavior, not only through the formal rules, but also through modeling. And students very carefully observe the teachers, who should, in their opinion, remain calm during the conflict, who should demonstrate empathy, who should communicate respectfully, and solve problems in a collaborative manner. So repeated observation gradually establishes the classroom behavioral norms. Bandura refers to this process as observational learning. So the students are more passive, but they require a special attitude from the teachers. The third theory is the ecological system theory, created by Bronfenbrenner in 1979. It was a concept of children's development within the interconnected environmental systems. So the classroom conflict cannot always be understood only by examining students' behavior. The external behavior should include the family relationships, the socio-economic conditions, the peer networks, community violence, cultural expectations, and the digital communication, which shows that we are surrounded by this network as a social network. The fourth theory is the self-determination theory, created by Deci and Ryan in the year 2000, and they proposed that human motivation depends upon satisfaction of the three basic psychological needs. And these needs are, number one, autonomy, number two, competence, and three, relatedness. So how autonomous we are, how competent we are, and how much of relations within the community we have, and how much we base ourselves on the relations. So many of the behavioral conflicts do originate from one of these three needs: autonomy, competence, or relatedness. And students who experience repeated academic failure can demonstrate disruptive behavior to protect their self-esteem, just to protect themselves within the classroom. So these were the four theories. What are the psychological processes which underlie the classroom conflicts? The conflict frequently reflects emotional dysregulation rather than deliberate misconduct. So the neuroscientific research indicates that during emotionally difficult situations, the activation of hormones reduces activity within the prefrontal cortex, impairing executive functioning, impulse control, and rational decision-making. This explains why highly emotional students struggle to listen, they struggle to reason, to remember instructions, and to solve their problems. Teachers who respond with escalating emotional intensity may unintentionally reinforce this state, the state of emotional uneasiness. Instead, emotionally regulated teachers respond to promote co-regulation, to gradually restore students' capacity for reflective thinking. I guess this is quite theoretical, because we know that we are all human beings, and we as teachers also may be disrupted in a situation. But I think we are expected to promote self-regulation. The classroom conflict is also seen through the lens of educational psychology, as it is stated that conflict is an inevitable aspect of classroom life, meaning that it cannot be avoided. Do you agree that the conflict in classrooms cannot be avoided? Do you think so? Yes or no? I guess very often it is very difficult to avoid it. So whenever the individuals with different personalities, different backgrounds, expectations, and goals, they start interaction, the disagreements and tensions are the natural consequence, because this is the variety of the surroundings of personalities. And rather than viewing this conflict as a sign of ineffective teaching, the educational psychology considers it as the normal development, as a normal phenomenon that can become the powerful learning opportunity. As sometimes, as teachers, we tend to blame ourselves, that this is our failure because we are ineffective as teachers. At the beginning of my academic career, which was many years ago, I also tried to have this model, like I thought I am ineffective. Once I was told by one of the mentors that usually classroom life is seen as the battlefield, and we enter the battlefield because if we just face 20 or 30 students, They are also different with different expectations. Maybe they are experiencing a very bad day or very good day, on the other hand. And this is the mixture of feelings, the mixture of emotions, which may result in, as a consequence, in some kind of conflict or misunderstanding. So educational psychology provides theoretical frameworks that explain why classroom conflicts occur, why they develop, and what teachers do and can do to transform the conflicts into opportunities. I guess this is the biggest power that we have, how to transform a conflict into an opportunity, into something better. Do you have any ideas? Would you like to make a comment on that? Or maybe you have some hands-on experience, how you managed to transform a conflict into an opportunity? Anyone from you?
It can be transformed in the form of the dialogue, and actually students can find the decision or solution themselves. And as I'm a language teacher, I think they can also use that opportunity to improve their language abilities, to start communicating, because lots of them usually have the problems in expressing their ideas. They are quite good in reading and writing, and they're not good in expressing their points of view.
Yes, thank you. I also see one comment: involve rebellious students into the process of teaching. Yes, this is one of the tricks which I sometimes did as well. Yes, so ask them to stand in front, take the floor, and teach. Whatever kind of teaching this is, if it's effective or ineffective, but let them take the floor, let them lead, so that they see that being in our shoes is not so easy, because we need to control space in a way. Like, we need to teach, first of all, but we are also the masters of space, as we are in control. I guess I would say it's always easier to be a teacher in that situation than to be a student, I would say, because if we are clever enough and if we have enough experience, I guess this comes with experience. If we have enough power and we are strong emotionally, then we can create a situation when we reverse it. So, also, solving conflicts is, I think, a very big topic. It's not only for one meeting, and I'm not a psychologist, really. I am just an experienced teacher. So I know, like, putting this weight of conflict into the middle of the classroom, so that it's not on us, so that it's not on the students, like balancing it in a way. Maybe it's a bit easier, or letting them do something instead, taking another perspective. And I also think what is important, that we move forward, so that we don't dig into this conflict like crazy, that we do not ask a million questions, because it's not the point, but we try to solve it in some kind of logical, stable manner, and we move forward. We take the next step. If the students don't see the progress, if they don't see they are moving on, then they may feel they are left behind, or they are not understood in a way. So I think it depends on our own experiences as well, I would say. So it's the development of the conflict may escalate, but I guess we are the ones to put it down and to explain. I guess also listening to both sides. If there are students arguing, then we should listen to both sides of the story, both sides of the conflict, so that then we can take this middle line, like not take a stand, not not to stand for just one of them, because if we just support one, then he or she may become the victim in the classroom. If the moment we leave, we close the door behind us after the meeting or the lecture is finished, this person may lose his or her face because we supported someone. So I guess it's also very important to remember who and why we are supporting in the situation. These are very practical aspects, but defining the classroom conflict, this is not only disagreement, it can be an opposition to us as teachers. It can be the tension that we feel between individuals within this educational environment. It can focus and it can influence the classroom functioning. The conflict is something that may be aimed at preventing someone from achieving the desired goals. The students really, I feel it's the human nature to intervene and to prevent someone else from achieving some kind of success. And we also should be aware that this may be one of the failures in the classroom. If anyone is pursuing this attitude, then I think we should really try to abolish this very quickly. The conflicts may be related to very different relationships. They may focus on the teacher and student interactions, so they may be aimed at us. There may be disagreements between student and student, or sometimes the teacher and parent communication. In Polish primary and secondary schools, especially primary schools, so the pupils from the age of 7 to until 14, there is quite a lot of parent involvement in the school life. Parents visit schools, there are special monthly meetings with the teachers, and they try to intervene into the classroom life, into the grades, and into tests that students write. It's not so much in secondary schools, and it's not really happening at university level, not at all. But I was once visiting a university in Cyprus, and they told me, there was a professor of English whom I met, and he told me that there is this very strong parent involvement, even at university level in Cyprus, because it's like they are from the Southern culture, and they feel like, they are still parents of their child, their children, and they feel they can somehow get involved into this school life. Do you think it's happening in Ukraine, that parents are so actively involved? What do you think? What is your experience? But we cannot hear you.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I definitely agree with you, and I definitely think that our parents are involved in the school life of our children, and we have some committees in schools, so they sometimes they help teachers, and sometimes they provoke some situations which can be called as a difficult or complicated one. Yes.
Yes, and the teachers also have this. This is like, yes, somebody made yes, Anastasia, you made a comment. Mostly no, only when students fail some exams. Yes, so the parents then put the pressure on the teachers just to change the final results. Yes. As I said, in Poland, I think only primary schools, secondary schools, it's very limited, and it doesn't happen at university level. But as we are all humans, we know that this is like, if it's happening to my daughter, then I would definitely do something, yes, about it, because I feel like this is my daughter. I should go and ask for something. I have two daughters. One already graduated from university, and the younger one just graduated from secondary school. And I tried not to intervene because I know how much hate is connected with this. And that the teacher, because I also have lots of teachers among my friends, and we always discuss it, like how much of this intervention from parents we should accept and how much of this intervention has to be ignored because we will never make a step forward. But sometimes it happens, yes, it cannot be avoided. But the example from Cyprus was something that I could not believe that I heard, that this is happening right now in Europe. But this is like, I think, the mentality of Southern, nations, that they are very heated, they are hot-blooded, and they feel that like everything can be excused. The conflict is also divided into spheres, like it can be constructive and the conflict can be destructive. When the conflict is constructive, it means that it can promote some kind of reflection. So it brings on some thoughts that we can improve ourselves, that we can learn something from it. It also encourages the perspective taking, something I mentioned already today. So we try to look at someone else's situation from his or her point of view. This is also related to empathy, I guess. So how much empathy we have, how much of this perspective of another person we can take. The constructive conflict stimulates the critical thinking. It can improve communication and it can help develop social competence. And the destructive conflict can totally damage relationships. It can create anxiety, so the feeling of uneasiness. It can disrupt learning and it can escalate aggression. Also, it reduces the classroom safety, especially with the younger kids. And why, in that case, why educational psychology matters, why educational psychology is important. These studies on how people learn, develop, and behave are placed within the educational settings. And the conflict emerges because learning itself is psychologically demanding. And the students, while learning, the students constantly experience the cognitive challenges because the topic of the lecture or the lesson is difficult. They experience emotional stress and identity formation, especially around the age of 10 and 15. They have the peer comparison, which is also stimulated by social media today. There is this evaluation pressure, the evaluation pressure which comes from the academic life, the academic system, and from colleagues. And there are the developmental changes as the students develop and their mentality changes. The major psychological theories which explain the classroom conflict, the major ones are the behaviorism by Skinner, which views conflicts as the learned behavior maintained by reinforcement, and the students repeat behaviors which produce the desired outcomes. As for example, the student disrupts the class, the teacher argues, the student receives fewer attention. Another theory by Bandura, which I already mentioned to you, is the social learning theory, as the students model themselves on the teachers. And if the students observe the teachers shouting, insulting, they will absolutely do the same. And there is Piaget's cognitive development theory, as we see conflicts on the scale of winning or losing. Something is right or wrong. Is it black and white? And the Vygotsky's social-cultural theory, when it's emphasized that learning occurs through the social interaction. There is also the Erikson's psychosocial development, as according to Erikson, the school-age children face developmental crisis. And the example is the students who seek competence. There is the failure in public speaking, the identity and confusion of role models. Another theory is the self-determination theory of Deci and Ryan, which I previously discussed. And there is this attribution theory, the attribution theory by Bernard Weiner, which explains how students interpret the success and failure. The student may ask, why did it happen? And the possible answers are the answers of the ability, of effort, and it depends on really on the teacher, what kind of support is given. The very important sphere is the social identity of management. So the students may need this feeling of belonging to some friendship circles, to ethnic groups, to the sport teams, to academic groups and online communities, as this is natural. So when students feel excluded, they may start bullying, they may start some group conflicts because nothing helps them reduce this tension. There are many triggers of conflict, as we see and we know them. There may be academic triggers, like frustration or very difficult task that the students are not able to follow, or the repeated failure. There is this there are social triggers like competition, bullying, anxiety, stress, and family problems. And there are maybe environmental issues, like the classroom is overcrowded, their classroom is very noisy, or the students are not sure and not certain what they should do. But the conflicts triggered by the teachers are inconsistent discipline, because if we change our mind every now and then the students will never know what to follow. There is unfair treatment, because we treat other students better than some others in the group. And there is pure communication. We don't express ourselves clearly. The teachers also experienced all these psychological biases. They just may have wrong assumptions, like they may call a student, he is lazy, instead of thinking he may be having a very difficult time, or he may be overwhelmed. The teachers never expect to be disrupted, to be controlled, and these are the expectations that we should meet on both sides. There are many strategies for conflict resolution. One is the evidence-based interventions. So I also discussed it today. We should know and we should listen to both sides of the conflict. We should be active listeners as teachers. We should feel, and the students should feel, that they have been heard before any kind of solution was proposed. The teachers should help students identify and regulate emotions, as there are many options and practices. We should try to introduce the collaborative problem solving, as both teacher and student identify together the problem, they identify the underlying concern and mutually acceptable solutions. What are the preventive strategies? I would put trust as strategy number one, and consistency, respect, and predictable routines. These form the base of stability in the classroom. We should also include some other elements, like the psychological safety, when everything is clear, the sense of belonging, the respect of the students, giving the students their voice, collaborative learning, and emotional support. So these are all the areas of situations and behaviors which may help solve the conflict. We should also remember that direct communication, assertiveness, and open disagreement is also the solution. I have a sentence which may be sometimes helpful when we are in very strong disagreement, and we may say something like, let's agree to disagree, which I really like in the situations when we should admit that other people have the right to their own opinion. So let's agree to disagree, that we have our own emotions, on our own views on the topic. It's very easy to focus on areas like punishment. So punishment is not really a way out, as we have to answer clearly the question, what rule was broken? It's not really helpful just to punish the student or the group of students. And educational psychology demonstrates to us clearly that the classroom conflict is not only an issue, it's a reflection. It's a reflection on regulation, on motivation, on social relationships, which are taking many levels, and environmental influences. This effective teaching requires conflict management, seeing conflict as the opportunity to create more resilience, to offer empathy and critical thinking and interpersonal competence. So rather than attempting to completely eliminate conflict, the educators should cultivate classrooms where the disagreement is addressed constructively through the evidence-based approach, active listening, restorative dialogue, collaborative problem solving, and emotionally supportive relationships. Of course, we know there is a lot of theory, there is also practice. As to give you some hands-on experiences, we also have been exchanging our own. I would say we should treat the classroom more holistically. So this holistic education may help us as teachers and students, may help us to learn about ourselves, about the healthy relationships, their development and emotional development and resilience. As we should consider our greatest challenges. and consider our greatest successes. What do we need to know how to achieve these successes? How many of these things we need to know before we enter the classroom as teachers? As for thousands of years before education, as formal education was formed, there were the social groups which taught people about those values. So this is really important to remember about it. And the holistic education has about, I would say, maybe 40 or 50 years of history. And public schooling is much, much older, having hundreds of years of experiencing. And several critics pointed out that education of human beings should involve simple features, simple situations, or should be based on identity, on nature, on spiritual values, of compassion and peace. There is this very famous method of Montessori created by Dr. Maria Montessori in the early 1900s. And it's a specific child-centered method of education. It involves the child-led activities. And the classrooms are full of children with varying age and teachers who encourage a lot of independence among their pupils. There are various forms of activity stations for children to choose from. The teachers move from one group to another. And there is no grading system. There is the focus on the whole student, seen as the social, emotional, intellectual, and physical unity. So I guess Maria Montessori schools are also known to you. There are many positive and negative aspects, as there are also many Montessori schools in Poland right now. The Montessori education is this system of praising the children. Of course, it's developed at early stages of education. And the classrooms are somehow famous for their beauty. There is a lot of light, a lot of toys. It's easy for the children to be accepted. There's a lot of social interaction, but these schools are usually very expensive to keep because they need special equipment and they need special spaces. So it's not accessible and it's not available to everyone because of the costs. Apart from the Montessori trend, there is another trend that we have observed in education for the last, I would say 5 or 6 years, is the mindfulness. This is the awareness on what occurs when we focus on the present and on the purpose of what we are doing. The mindfulness has physical and psychological benefits. This is in the classroom to assist us to focus on the student's attention and to help students focus on learning. It's more about training. It's about being able to rest in the present moment. We can avoid being caught up in dwelling only in the past, and we do not worry too much about the future. The psychological benefits include the decreased anxiety, decreased depression, and irritability, the increased happiness, and improved breathing. There is a lot of promotion now, and I think in the last 5 years in Poland, of holistic education, which may also help in a way to solve conflicts. But what we should try to avoid is just to avoid the label, because if we label something that this is like, let's say, ecological or holistic, or it's in a way, labeled in the fashionable manner, it is not the only way to solve it. We should go deeper into this. So if we are looking for a school which, or even a training center, if we are looking for a specific training for our needs as teachers, we should distinguish clearly if it's only a brand name or if it's fully like certified, if it's known on the market, what people say. I think now within the social media era, it's easy to check on what people say on Facebook, on Instagram, because there are many comments, opinions, and reviews of such services. So if we want to develop as teachers, this is also, I think, good for us to attend those training courses and sessions, but we should choose these wisely, because it's usually our own money. We have to pay quite a lot for those trainings and even online trainings, or go through a special like mentoring coaching sessions or course of development. So we should try to be based in some very renowned institutions, or just use the resources which are recommended by others. Okay, so as a wrap up of today, we should know that conflicts are inevitable part of education, that the management is usually on us as teachers. So it shows again how much effort we should put into that. But we can take on different strategies of solving the conflicts, starting to work on our own resources, and also not to burn out totally. If we are feeling we are about to burn out, we should seek some assistance, some kind of professional training, which may lead us as mentors for the young ones to help them live in their life, which is, as we all know, not easy, but we are the ones to help them with that. Thank you so much for today. I hope that we were just able to touch on some of the areas of the topic of conflict management in the classroom environment. And I'm hoping to see you in the near future. Thank you very much for today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Cordially, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Very
very
interesting
much.
information.
Yeah, I just see some of the comments. Thank you for the opportunity to attend this informative lecture. I appreciate the speaker and my colleagues for such insightful discussion regarding our topic. The war in Ukraine has significantly reduced the level of rebelliousness. Well, totally understood. They now value the opportunity to get higher education much more. However, it is harder for them to study under the conditions of escalating conflict. Many of them also have to work to support families, meaning they cannot focus all the energy solely on their studies. I'm deeply proud of my students. Thank you once again. That was from Daria Makarova, Kiev. Thank you, Daria. Yes, I know this, and I was not touching on the situation that you are now, which is very, very difficult, the situation of war, which is also putting many people onto like online situations, because it's understood. This was, I think, something we experienced at the COVID time. First we had COVID and online education, then war broke out, and it was another level of difficulties. But, well, we have to try and do our best, whatever the situation is. Thank you very much.